Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. We're coming at you on November 17th, 2021. Almost Thanksgiving, and I guess we can give thanks that we're not Austria, I guess. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. My name is Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. So jumping right into the first topic, it's funny, as horrible as a lot of our government has been doing in this country with sort of totalitarian rules on COVID, some countries are doing a little worse, I guess, and Austria is one of them. And we just heard this last week that Austria is enforcing lockdowns on all unvaccinated people. So we get that story up there. We got a link to a Bloomberg article here. And and so they're going to be essentially only allowing unvaccinated people to go to certain, I guess, necessary places, I guess, like your grocery store or whatever, as though you can't spread it there if you have it, but you can at a concert. I don't know what goes on in these people's minds, but science apparently is something that's left the building a long time ago. that was gone early 2020. We haven't seen any of that in quite a while. But apparently it's just edicts of politicians constantly thinking that they want to be shown doing something. And at least in Austria, that's pretty hardcore, locking down everybody, creating well, not everybody, just if you're unvaccinated. So
right.
What do you guys think about this one?
Talk about a violation of human rights in this case. I know it's Austria and it's not the United States, but you're talking about human beings. You're talking about the violation of their rights in the name of some disease that has a 99% recovery rate. I mean, what science could trigger a mandate like this? What science could tell us that this would be the only way that we can find to solve this problem? Of course, the COVID is a problem, but it has a 99% recovery rate. So even if you get sick, if you get infected, sure, there might be some people who might be hospitalized and all that, and we have to go through all the regimens of treatment. But what is being used to justify this thing? And I think you're right, Jason. What the hell is going on in these people's minds? Nobody can know. They seem to be just doing it on the fly without any rational basis for their actions. And now they're going to have a whole, I don't know, I think they said the vaccination rate is just like about 67%, so about 1/3 of their population. They are going to lock down about 1/3 of the Austrian population. I don't know how many million people that is, but I'm sure it's significant. They're going to lock these people down. And they're going to make sure their life is miserable until they go take the vaccine. Which is mean they're going to essentially, quote unquote, put a gun in their head and tell them to go to the vaccine. And if they don't, they'll have to stay in their homes at all times. Otherwise, they're going to get arrested and fined. And probably in prisons, I guess. I don't know if they go that far, but I'm sure it's possible. This is ridiculous and totally unscientific.
Yeah, I think that's the ignored science that they're using to do this. The science that says that even fully vaccinated, you can still catch COVID and you still pass it on to somebody else. And the vaccinated are basically, for the most part, the vast majority, upper 90th percentile, and I'm a vaccine fan, are safe from severe COVID,
right?
Like I had. So they're not going to get hospitalized. So it's only the unvaccinated that pose a risk, but mainly to themselves. Yes, they can bring it home to another unvaccinated person in their household, but so can the vaccinated bring it home to an unvaccinated person in their household and make life miserable potentially for them. So Yeah, they have to ignore all that science, and they have to ignore the science that no matter what people do, COVID follows its own particular path. And you can see the spikes in COVID occur regardless of what measures are taken. And so they can look at that science, but they're going to ignore that too. And so what are they doing? You're confined to your house. If you're unvaccinated, you can't walk out the door. You can't walk down the street. You can't get in your car and drive to the grocery store. Is that what this is?
The police can stop you. Listen what's going on here. You see like how you can have a traffic stop? The police can stop you and ask you to produce some proof of vaccination. And
okay, so you don't have it.
You can be fined and confined to your home.
Well, I thought they're confined to their home. That's why they're being stopped, right? They're already confined to their home? Is that
I don't remember exactly what is the process right here, but if you are found on the street and you're unvaccinated, they could fine you.
Yeah, I believe that you have the excuse to go to certain places, like, to get food and things that are considered necessary by the government, but you could be stopped anywhere and papers, please. Right?
Papers. Papers.
So that could be, it's scary, eventually, are they going to be kind of rounding them up and putting them in the trains at some point?
God knows,
sure. Why not? Why not? Yeah, for sure. I mean,
it's the only way to be sure to get rid of COVID, right? I mean,
kill the host. Kill the host.
Well, I mean, they could kill everybody, the whole population. They could do that, mass murder, and that would definitely put this,
But it would bring COVID deaths. Yeah, it would bring COVID deaths down to zero. There'd be a lot of other deaths.
Exactly. Yeah.
But their numbers would look great on COVID.
Oh yes, man. Oh yes. It'll look fantastic. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's not just, like you said, Austria seems to be kind of heading off in new frontiers on this stuff, but Los Angeles is kind of right behind them. I mean, they're essentially asking a lot of indoor businesses to police their population. I mean, they want them to collect information whether or not these people are being, people who go there are indeed vaccinated, and so they want them to essentially check for vaccination cards or whatever other proof, I guess, that they imagine people who are vaccinated have. And this brings up a really kind of interesting question, I think, for libertarians. And should the government be able to require a private business to do their own police work for them? Essentially, if they don't want people out and going to certain places, why is it that they get to stick that cost on the business? I don't kind of understand that. And there was recently an argument with this in the Bay Area, what we call the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay, San Jose area. There was an In-N-Out burger, and they had apparently said, no, we're not going to do this. And so they got shut down at least for a day or two. I'm not quite sure how that all resolved, but they said, it's not our job to sit there and police people and look at their papers. We're here to sell hamburgers. And I'm not sure, though, what's going to happen to them in LA, because I think that's where they're based out of.
Well, it's the habit of government to ask businesses to collect sales tax and to collect the income taxes on their and W-2 their employees. So they're in the tax collection business. Private businesses are. So they work for the government with no pay, none whatsoever, and that takes nationwide, probably billions of dollars of cost directly to businesses to collect sales tax and income tax for the government for nothing. Okay. And so they're used to it. So why not? Yeah. Hey, by the way, while you're at it, collecting our sales tax, why don't you also check to make sure that they've been vaccinated? Because, hey, we're used to we're the boss. You're not the boss. You do not own your private property, your business there that you think you own. You don't own it. We do, and we own you, and you're our slave, and that's just the way it is. And if you don't like it, I don't know, sorry, get out of business. There's a thought.
What we have here really and truly is a benign form of slavery, because what's going on here, the long arm of the law, that's the whip, and the slave master is the federal government, or the state government too, and the small businesses are the slaves. Or all businesses, I guess, are the slaves. That they must do the bidding for no pay. They must do the bidding of master for no pay. So this is just a small...
The definition of slavery.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this is maybe, you may call it a benign form of slavery, but is it slavery all the same?
It's the same thing. I don't know, benign or not benign, it's slavery.
It's slavery. Fair enough. I take your point, Tim. I take your point. But the point is, though, the government is infecting all areas of our lives in this way, where you use the long arm of the law as a whip, and we, the citizens or businesses, private entities, must do the bidding. And if we don't do the bidding, massa will come along and whip us, sometime imprison us if we don't pay our taxes, if they have determined we don't pay our taxes, or if there's some violation that we don't
make one mistake on your
something.
Yeah, make one mistake on your sales tax report. Ask me how I know this from my previous small business ownership years, and they will come and fine you for that little mistake. Honest mistake, doesn't matter.
Right.
They will come and fine you for that. So not only do you not get paid, but you get fined if you screw up. If you're a bad employee, a bad if you're a bad slave, okay, if you perform your slave duties erroneously, you will be punished like slave owners do. I mean, they whip the slaves, and that you will be whipped if you screw up by your God-fearing government.
Your master, yes.
Your master. Your master, yes.
It is kind of funny, too, you mentioned the idea that the businesses are being asked to, I guess, do the government job of collecting the taxes. But, it's funny, they also have them do policing in other ways, too. Like, for instance, with alcohol, if somebody goes in to buy a drink, the government has them check your permission slip, which is your ID, I guess, to see if you're old enough to get that drink, and sometimes this is, we also police the sale too, you can't sell this on certain days or at certain times, or, all kinds of, crazy stuff.
You want an example of that? Go into a bar at about 1:45 in the depending on the local jurisdiction laws in the morning, 1:45 when they're supposed to close. Okay. You cannot allow liquor to be consumed on your premises after the magical hour of 2 a.m. Okay. So if you are taking a little while to drink your drink, and you've got 3/4 of it, of your Jack Daniels on the rocks in the glass, you will be forced. It depends on the bar, but I mean, some of them, the bouncers will bounce you the hell out of there, 3/4 of a drink or not, and you will just stop drinking at 2 a.m. Okay, and everybody's out the door because they're literally trembling in fear. Their master is going to whip them for allowing the horrible thing of somebody finishing their drink that they just purchased past 2 a.m. Okay. All right. Well, so those are laws. All right. I get it. But boy, the enthusiasm with which certain bars will enforce that law for their masters is quite astonishing. I couldn't believe it the first time I saw it. Couldn't believe it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I haven't been in a bar at 2 a.m. in 20 years or 15
Neither have I.
years.
Yeah, same thing here. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's probably the last call for that story. Let's go to a different one too. And James, can you bring up the image real quick here? So this was the image from our last story about Los Angeles, and now one of the things we wanted to get to as well is Biden asking, businesses to police things. Well, he's also, I guess, empowering the OSHA, or he's trying to anyways. I mean, the courts are saying he can't. That ain't stopping him. He's just ignoring the courts on this, which is absolutely crazy. I mean, people were upset thinking Trump was some fascist or something. I mean, holy crap, the courts are literally telling him you can't do this, and he's going around. But he's asking OSHA, who's supposed to be essentially saying, hey, you better make sure you're wearing a hard hat, or you better make sure you're, not, working in this area where you could hurt yourself, that kind of a thing. And he's saying that essentially
workplace safety in general.
Yeah, workplace safety in general. That's workplace safety. That focuses on items particular to the workplace, which is what that's about. And, he wants them to make sure that everybody is vaccinated who works for the companies. And so that's something he's being sued over by a lot of big companies. One of them, some of you might be familiar with, Daily Wire, is sort of spearheading some of this. They are also suing the Biden administration. But if you have over 100 employees, they want you to check your papers, papers, please, to all your employees as they come in, and they want you to check that, I think, weekly, and make sure that your employees are all up to date on their vaccinations. And, so totally getting into their health business, I guess. So, it's kind of crazy stuff again. Going way beyond. But the funny thing is because OSHA isn't that big, it sounds like they're kind of hoping that employees will be sort of rat out other, their businesses and stuff, if they're not doing a good job. So it's kind of like 1984 stuff. I mean, they want the people to turn on their neighbors, turn in your employer, whatever. If you see a violation, let the government know and we'll pat you on the back. What do you guys think about this?
This is East Germany. This is East Germany being resurrected right here in the United States. Okay, where your neighbors and your co-workers are going to snitch on you. This is unbelievable. What is being proposed here, and what is worse about this? The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal have told the Biden administration they cannot do this. Okay, they have put a temporary block on the implementation of this mandate, and still they want to go forward. But just today, over the news, it came that they are now suspending the implementation. So I don't know if that means they're going to permanently stop it, or this is just a temporary thing until the courts are weighed in. But the point of the matter is that their intent is to try to go around a court order. Talk about fascism. This is unbelievable.
And another example of our cherished institutions being totally ignored by politicians.
Yes.
And the government, ignoring their own government edicts, that they have, they're supposed to follow them under the rule of law. If you have the rule of law, and when we lose the rule of law, we are going to be a banana republic. And I think we're already there. It looks like we are. We look, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. And I think right now we look like a banana republic. We quack like a banana republic. And so I'm probably pretty sure that we are indeed a rule of lawless banana republic that just doesn't care about the rule of law and the Constitution and anything else that would restrict the tyranny of government. We're done as a country. I mean, done. You think all this other flimsy little stuff on the outside, all this crap means anything? If you lose the rule of law, you are finished as a country. Yes. And that's where we are right now, in my opinion.
Yeah,
indeed.
Finished. We're on the seventh stage of empire, and we're down for the count. And it takes years. It takes years. The old saying, it happens slowly until it happens fast. And then when it happens fast, it just gets upended, and the Titanic slips below the surface of the ice-covered sea, and down it goes. And that's the end of that.
Well, it feels pretty Orwellian, but as we've got you triggered at the moment, let's hear your good guys with guns segment,
okay.
Tim.
All right, here we go. All right, here we are. This happened October 18th this year. So it's recent.
Oh, and just to preface, Good Guys with Guns, we're telling a story. We're trying to do this on a semi-regular basis where, a case where a person with a, uses a gun for a good result in society, and not a bad one. So go ahead.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't even have to shoot anybody.
Yeah.
All right, so but this time, a man shot and killed a 28-year-old who allegedly broke into his South Eugene, Oregon apartment early Monday morning and will not be facing charges, police said Thursday. The additional police details come 3 days after the shooting, which resulted in the death of Skylar Weisberg, who reportedly drove from his home in Tillamook County. Weisberg left home sometimes after 10 p.m. and after being pulled over for a minor traffic violation, he told a deputy he was going to Eugene to look for his wife, according to police spokeswoman Melinda McLaughlin in a news release. He arrived around 3:40 a.m. to the Southcrest Apartments on Donald Street, where Weisberg's wife had previously lived. McLaughlin said she added that the current occupants, did not know Weisberg. Police said Weisberg pounded on the door to the apartment, waking up the current occupants, a 21-year-old man and his 20-year-old girlfriend living in sin. Oh, I added that. When the man contacted Weisberg through the resident contacted Weisberg through the window, Weisberg began yelling and pounding on the windows, demanding to see his wife. He also reportedly banged a pumpkin against the window and smashed it against the ground. The noise prompted multiple 911 calls from residents at the complex. The male occupant told Weisberg his wife was not at the location and asked him to leave, according to police, before Weisberg eventually broke the window and entered the apartment. Inside, the male occupant was armed with a handgun and continued to tell Weisberg to leave, police said. Showing restraint. Weisberg allegedly advanced towards the man, making comments about death, presumably his own, upcoming, before he shot at Weisberg twice, stopping him temporarily. Police said Weisberg continued to advance, and the occupant shot a third time, causing Weisberg to collapse a few feet from the hallway to the bedroom. Police provided medical care to Weisberg until arrival of Eugene Springfield fire personnel, who pronounced Weisberg had taken the room temperature challenge. Oh, they said dead. He was dead. Yeah, I put that in. Okay. And then Weisberg had a history of mental illness and at least one prior psychotic episode, police said, after contacting both his family and estranged wife. Asked why charges were not filed against the man who killed Weisberg. Why not? Lane County Assistant District Attorney Robert Lane said in an email he believes it to be a clear case of self-defense based on the briefing from police. So I think that's cut and dry.
Indeed. A good guy with a gun.
Yep.
Indeed.
Well, it's funny, part of the reason we're doing this is because you hear so many stories of, in the press. If it bleeds, it leads. And if it's a story about a bad guy with a gun, oh my gosh, it's time for, taking away all the guns. But,
yes.
you really need to hear both sides of that. And so that we can weigh, hey, there's actually a lot of times when guns save good people out there and prevent some bad things from happening. And so it's, we're trying to balance those scales here a little bit with some of these stories.
So is the CDC, whose numbers are up in the 200,000s of instances, and a lot of times not a shot is fired. Most of the time, not a shot is fired, or they're fired and they miss, or they fired and they wound somebody. But so if there's no bleeding, there's no leading, and the CDC is a government agency, maybe weaponized, but maybe you ought to listen to their stats on this, because there's a lot more good guys with guns than bad guys with guns.
Indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
But we're doing our part to help people hear about those good guys with guns. Yeah. But let's get on to our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. And so we can bring up the image on this one. So this time our Knucklehead is Van Jones, but he actually speaks for a lot of the left on this. So I mean, you might almost say that almost the entire left is a knucklehead on this one, because they all seem to suffer from some kind of Delta variant of Trump derangement syndrome. It seems like. But recently, what he had said in his comments when he was talking with his, fellow broadcasters after Glenn Youngkin won his election in Virginia, beating the sort of the lefty candidate for governor who had been part of the Obama administration, I think. I can't remember the guy's name.
Terry McAuliffe. He was a Clintonite.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. So Clintonite. But anyways, so he had was quoted as saying that the reason for the election, the win for Youngkin, is he said, when this election is over, we will know we have seen the emergence of the Delta variant of Trumpism. In other words, Youngkin, same disease, but spreads a lot faster and can get a lot more places. So, I mean, these guys just can't let Trump go. I mean, they have this Trump derangement syndrome. It's been a year and a half, roughly, since, what is it, a year and a half, 2 years? Is it? No, not quite 2 years. About a year since, just a year since Trump has been out, I guess. So, but yeah, it seems a lot longer. I mean, boy, being under Biden, it's been like a decade already. It seems like it. Anyways, you guys have any thoughts on this? The left and their they just can't let go of Trump.
It's just a sickness that is ongoing here, and Van Jones, even though he is always a lefty, he had some dealings with Trump, and they had some good things to say about Trump and some of the things that Donald Trump was doing. But I don't even know what Trump had to do with the Virginia election. He didn't. I mean, Youngkin didn't have him coming to Virginia to try to say, hey, vote for him or anything like that. Trump did have some words about him and that kind of stuff. But here's Van Jones trying to tell us, oh, this is just Trumpism at its worst and all these sort of things, and it's just so ridiculous. These people, like they're so obsessed with this man. They have become sick in their own mess, and they can't realize it. I could say something more obscene, but I can't. I know this has to be broadcast, so I wouldn't say anything more obscene. But these people are sick. Honestly, they are. Seriously.
Just desiring to commit the sin is the same as committing the sin, Leon. I just want to remind you. I don't have anything more to add to that. You got Jason. Your sound is turned off.
You're on mute.
Yeah, it's funny. We kind of bang on the left a little bit here recently, but it's because the left is just completely, I guess, gone with Trump derangement syndrome. I mean, the stuff that's going on is just, I don't know. It seems to be a bit beyond the pale, but we're doing our best to stay afloat and comment on this stuff week to week. And, so there you have it. So we're glad you've spent another episode with us, and we hope to see you at the next one. Until then, stay free.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit